G'day Dennis, or anyone else that might concern. This is Michael Reed, and I'm just going to do a quick instructional video on the best way to assemble the top section of the pan tilts for CC3010. So I've just changed the way to assemble it a little bit, just to get rid of the old strain relief, so it's a lot more easy and quick to put together. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab this piece here. Grab a 16mm bolt, so these are the ones that are slightly longer than the other ones. They're going to be in large numbers in the box that's on your desk, Dennis. So pop it through that one, and then we're going to grab 2 of the M3 spacers. So these are just the little plastic circles that are in that Glad-wrap bag. Then what we're going to grab is one of these pieces. So this is the bit that sits on this section of the pan tilt. So it sits in like that. So we're going to take it that way, and we're going to pop the bolt through that as well. And then lastly, on the end of this bolt here, we're going to grab a nylock nut and slip that onto there. So now the bolt I'm working with here is slightly shorter than 16mm, but the one you're going to be using is 16mm, so I can't tighten mine here, but you get the idea. So now that section is done, so you put that to the side. You can do those in batches if you'd like. Then we're going to grab the base section, and this time grab a 15mm bolt. So these are the ones that are in the small plastic Bunnings-like cases. So we're going to pop that through the top corner section of that one. Then again, we're going to grab a plastic spacer, slide it over the top of that, and then grab a regular M3 nut, the one that's not a nylock, and we're just going to really loosely pop it on the top. So enough that it's stable enough to keep itself there, but not poking through all the way or anything. And the reason we're going to do that is that next we grab on one of these sections, and what you're going to do is just slip it over such that the nut lines up with the square section that it needs to pop through. And it should be reasonably easy to do this because the nut is so loose and just sits up. And once you've pushed it over there, you also need to line up the little teeth that pop into the base section. So just like that, I've popped that one through. And now we just tighten up this nut, and this will lock the strange little shaped section onto the base plate here. So the difference to the old design is we've now taken or omitted the small little plate here that used to act as a strain relief. So once we finish that, we finished this yawing section on the right hand side here, and it should be a little bit more rigid than before. So the way that we are going to strain relief now is, if you can see here, what I've done is I've popped the cable through. At the moment I've just popped it through once, and I've been wrapping it along this top side. So the important thing is to not wrap it down this side, but to just wrap it along this one. And I'd pop it through probably twice, so there's plenty of room to pop it through both times. And just that way, if you keep them tight both times, it's a lot less likely to unravel itself. Obviously the kids are probably going to have to pull it tight a couple times themselves, but you know, that's something you've got to deal with. So pull it tight both times, and that'll act as our strain relief there. Cool. So now we go to the other side. So what we've got is the laser here. So hopefully we're going to have this section here potted with some super glue to give it a little bit of strain relief. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sit it this side, so like with the solder side up. So grab the clip on the end, we're going to pop that through this section here. Slide through the cable, and then sit it just like I said with the solder connections facing up. And then you just got to sort of set it down into there a little bit so this bit's flush with the bottom of that piece. Now we're going to grab the front plate, make sure that the bolt hole on the right lines up with the bolt hole on the right of this one, set it down. Then we're going to grab the other plate that goes on the other side, which, no, here it is. And once again, just make sure the pieces line up. Then we're going to grab a 15mm bolt. So again, this is one of the plastic Bunnings containers. I'm going to slide it through from the outside, so that's a pretty important thing to remember, is that you can't put the bolt in from the other side, otherwise it will infringe on fitting into the box when they get placed into those plastic boxes. So on the other side of this one, I'm just going to put a regular M3 nut, just because it doesn't need to be particularly tight. I'm just going to take it out of the screen so I can see in some fashion. Sorry, bear with me one moment. This isn't the most comfortable position to assemble things in with the camera. Yep. So, sorry. Once we get that down, we just finger tighten this bolt on here, just because we're going to want to be able to move these bits a little bit for when we pop on this piece. So this piece is just the top section that pops it down, so You just want to place it on top of these, line your other pieces up, and it'll just click down into there. So now you should be able to see the laser through the center hole, and these two other ones will be for the M3 bolts. So just like before, we're going to pop it sort of like almost vertical, so the nut doesn't fall out when you just drop it in like that, and it'll just sit in. Then you take a 16 mil bolt. So again, this is the one in the boxes, not the plastic packets. And I'm just going to tighten that down. Now obviously you do the same thing on the other side, but just to save time in this video, I'm not going to do that. So don't tighten these ones hugely either, because as you can see here, I've just tightened this one a little bit too much to show you, and this section started to pop out. This one's already been fatigued a little bit from many disassemblies, so just be aware. Don't tighten it hugely, tighten it enough so that it's reasonably rigid, but you don't need to go crazy. So now the laser is sat in there, and because the hot glue in there should be potting it, then we might even put a little bit more in the end so that it has a little bit more strain relief, but that section will just sit out like that and not go through the wrapping section like this one does. So now the last thing that you need to do is grab this piece, yaw it around, it'll fit into this one very easily. Again, 16mm bolt in here with a regular M3 nut, not the nylock. And then once you've done that, this top section should be finished and assembled. Aside from the fact that you do just need to put in, it's difficult to see in this light, but you just see that the little part sticking out there, it looks like a little T, it's in another bag, so they just need to be set in, and if you can see it there, it's like it's vertical, so it needs to be vertical, and they're just hot glued in. So if you have any more questions, you still do have my number, but that should hopefully speed up the process a little bit and make it a lot easier for you to just finish off the top sections. Cheers!